Good morning and a very warm welcome. You're watching the latest edition of the Breakfast Club. I'm Kritsween Valia with Toya. As always, 8 in the morning, we get you some very interesting stories, things that we really need to shift our attention to. And what better than the rainfall patterns in the country could we bring up today that the national capital has seen an intense spell of rain.
I'd actually say today's show is a little bit about the mystery of weather too. Why does it seem like we can't get weather prediction correct? Is it an India-specific problem? What happens behind it? Do you ever wonder how weather is precisely measured and why mistakes still happen? We're going to break it all down for you here on the show. Let's take a look very quickly first at headlines. All right, first the climate conundrum, and we bring you Indian monsoons as they turn erratic. We're going to be taking a look at experts joining us. So IMD senior experts, a climate scientist joining us and telling us how forecasts could be failing India's cities. But now, with the use of new equipment, they're trying to reverse that. We're going to walk you through the science behind India's unpredictable monsoon.
What we're also going to talk about on TVC this morning is the big win that's come India's way in boxing. This is Nupur Sheoran, who's struck a gold at the World Boxing Cup. She's carrying a legacy forward because she's a third-generation boxer in the family. So her name is returned to global boxing glory. We'll talk to her, understand her story better, and tell you what's in store for her next.
And we take you to the world of cricket, where India versus England in the third test, Lords lights up for a red ball rivalry and India eyes a series lead. Remember, after that historic win in Edgbaston, can they continue? We think they can, but can they continue the streak into Lords? That's obviously the exciting question.
We also talk about the singing sensation son, Shan's son. Mahi speaks to CNN-News18, opens up about working with his dad and on his father's legacy. That interesting interview also lined up this morning.
First, though, our top story. India's weather seemingly feels like it's becoming harder and harder to predict. Monsoons are arriving earlier in some years, stalling in others, and dumping heavy rains where they're least expected. Add to that soaring summer temperatures in Delhi that feel like they get much higher much earlier, on and off patterns of rainfall across the entire north of India. Climate change, we know, is playing a factor in this, and we've discussed that. We know that it has some serious consequences. But how much of an impact does climate change have on weather forecast accuracy? Is this the key issue? Why are our forecasts struggling to keep up? And if not in the short-term predictability, so what that means is the next 7-day weather forecast, it feels like forecasts surely are struggling when it comes to the long-term climate assessment. So for example, telling us correctly when winter is going to start and how intense winter is going to be. What's the real cause of this? Is it about the limits of meteorology or the scale of climate disruption?
Also, we will talk about how there is a need to decode the science behind the shifting weather pattern and what it means for instance, the farming community in the country, urban population, and millions of Indians who entirely depend on timely forecasts. We'll talk about that. Take a look at what these patterns so far have revealed. We go back to 2017. It was forecasted above normal rains for that year, but Tamil Nadu, for instance, saw drought. That's why it's worrying and seemingly concerning on why these patterns continue to re-emerge. 2018, for instance, predicted an early onset, but Kerala was flooded, and we know how that went. We put out some visuals of the same as well that we'll keep pulling up. 2019's normal monsoon turned extreme with 110% rainfall. Cut to 2021, in the national capital, the monsoon had lower rainfall levels due to wind pattern shifts. And in 2022, overshot predictions. We saw how predictions were overshot, but central India was left dry. This year as well, the monsoon forecast predicted that it started early with strong showers but was delayed, especially in cities like Delhi and states like Haryana.
Back to the IMD side of the story though. They are not sitting still. In fact, India has invested very heavily in next generation weather tech, and all of this is under Mission Monsoon. They were recently celebrating 150 years. So what does this tech actually look like? Let's pull that up for you. So number one, Doppler radars. These are radars that measure how quickly something is approaching it. Doppler radars have more than doubled from 15 to 39. Automated weather stations jumped from 675 to over 1,200. Rainfall monitoring stations have surged. Initially they were under 4,000, now they are at 6,000. And you have high resolution radars that now give sharper data at 350 meters. That has transformed how we track storm and cloudbursts.
But is this really enough? Do we have our weather predictions under control? To answer that, we're joined by two leading voices on the front line of climate science and weather prediction. We'll talk about the IMD expert who's going to be with us this morning. But before that, I want to introduce Dr. Roxy Kaul, climate scientist at IITM Pune, who's with us this morning. A very good morning to you, Doctor. My first question to you is, tell us about these changing patterns. We are learning how climate change has made it, and on obvious lines, increasingly difficult to predict weather. But what is the level of this difficulty? What's the current situation looking like for us Indians?
Hey, good morning, Toya and Christine. It's a delight to be back here on the Breakfast Club. Now, talking about weather, we always say, how come we can't predict India's weather that better compared to US or Europe and all. And there is some inherent nature or basic nature of the weather itself because we are close to the tropics. India is close to the equator and tropics, while US and Europe is in higher latitudes. And there's an analogy that I use. It's like India's weather or tropical weather is like a teenager who is much more wild and unpredictable.
Temperamental.
Compared to the high latitude weather, it could be an old person who is, slow and much more predictable. Yeah, and this is because of the basic nature of the weather systems here, or like for example, rains or winds and all these clouds, cyclones, all these weather systems, especially over the tropical region, they develop much more faster, and they are shorter systems, fast-moving, fast-developing system. There are two reasons for it. One is the energetics, the sun's energy that we receive over the tropics, which is kind of larger and stronger. While compared to the higher latitudes, the sun's energy that we receive is much more lesser. So the energetics itself is different. So there is more moisture, more energy concentrated over the tropics, which makes these weather systems kind of fast developing. So you would see, our observations or satellites show how clouds develop over the tropics. They kind of develop in a few hours time. So in like 3 hours, a cloud develops and dumps all that rain in a few hours or in a few minutes time sometimes.
Oh, wow.
So this happens, and this makes it much more less predictable. While over the higher latitudes, like people going into the US and Europe, they see how predictable today's weather is. The Met Department there predicted it will be like rains or sunshine, and it's dot on time. And this is because these weather phenomena they're developing, they are slow moving, and they develop over several days' time. So it is and they're large systems which are much more predictable. And there's also one more factor: the rotation of Earth. I'm not going to complicate this much, but the rotation of Earth has a larger role over the poles or the higher latitudes than the equator. So our models, the weather forecast models that we use, can use that rotation mechanism to predict the higher latitude weather much more accurately compared to the tropical region. So
Okay, Dr.
now,
Kaur, can we just
yeah.
we get you to clarify those? So are you, because that's really interesting. What you're saying is that when we feel like India's weather is unpredictable, it's actually geographically and meteorologically speaking, that's true. It is actually far easier to predict India's weather, not India's weather, other countries' weather. So, for example,
Yeah.
Europe,
Yeah.
North America, because of where they're located on the globe. But does that
Exactly.
also mean, Dr. Kaul, that in India itself, say a Kashmir would be easier to predict than a Kanyakumari, because Kanyakumari is closer to the equator? And is a Singapore also as unreliable because Singapore is also located close to the equator? Can we make those natural assumptions based on what you're saying?
Yeah, to some extent. To some extent, you can say that. And also, we have to consider the even within India, the geography is wildly different. We have the Himalayas towards the north, which also kind of changes these weather systems. And on all three sides, we have the Indian Ocean, the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal, which kind of controls and these weather systems, right? But otherwise, we use the state-of-the-art model forecasting system, whether it's in India or in the US. Indian system is as good as what IMD uses, is as good as the European or the US systems.
Okay.
So there is nothing different with how scientists like us approach these.
So this is
weather
not just to do
forecasting.
with science, it's to do with geography as well, is a very interesting
Yeah.
talking point you've given
that
us.
is one thing. And one more thing is that now climate change is adding more energetics to it. And this is more over the
Right.
tropics again. For example, our research shows that the Indian Ocean is warming very fast. So it is churning out more erratic monsoon, extreme rains, more intense cyclones. For example, on the West Coast, if you're on the West Coast, that is something you need to be worried about. So this kind of energetics is more pumped up in the tropics where India belongs. So we need to
Okay.
be worried more. It's getting more
Dr.
chaotic.
Kaul, you spoke of cyclones. We have a very special guest joining us this morning who's also called the
perfect.
Cyclone Man of India, Dr. Mrityunjay Mohapatra, Director General of
Morning.
Meteorology at the IMD. Very good morning to you. Sir, we've been establishing the trends in the country of how difficult or easy over the years it's become to predict weather, how accurately we're being able to do that. So tell us about the shift. You've been studying the science behind it for the longest time, for so many years now. How has weather forecast evolved over the years, and what are the current challenges that we're staring at in terms of the science around it?
Doctor, you're on mute. We'll wait for you to. Dr. Mrityunjay, you're on mute.
Am I audible?
Yes,
You are.
Yeah. So thank you very much. So weather forecast in the country is not a new phenomenon. India Meteorological Department came into existence in 1875. And prior to that, if you look at the traditional literatures, you can find out the attempt made by the people to provide the weather forecast. Even we also believe sometimes that morning shows the day, and we look at the sky every day, and thereby everyone becomes the forecaster. But you look at the systematic instruments-based forecast that started with the introduction of the instrumental observational system to the world in the beginning of 1800. And thereafter, gradually it improved with interpretation of simple observations. Then it came up with development of the statistical tools and also the climatology-based forecast. And finally, since 1950, people tried to develop certain dynamical modeling system to provide the forecast in different time scales. And at present, if we just look at, we have got a seamless weather forecasting system. That means we start with the forecast for a season. Following it, we have the monthly forecast. Then the forecast for the weeks issued every Thursday. And then it is followed by the everyday forecast for next 7 days at district level and meteorological subdivision level and states level. To follow it up, on the day of occurrence of any severe weather, we have the nowcast, or a very short range forecast issued every 3 hours. The recent developments, if you just look at, there has been the location specific forecast anywhere in the country. You can click on in your mobile app in the Monsoon, and you can find out the forecast for next 10 days, even hourly forecast up to 36 hours, 36 to say 5 days, every 3-hour forecast, and then from 5 days to 10 days, every 6 hours forecast. It not only gives you the general weather, but also it provides you the severe weather guidance for the next 5 to 7 days. Apart from that, we also came up with the impact-based forecast and risk-based warning. That means we at present do not say that there will be rain tomorrow, but also we say if there will be rain, what will happen and what will the impact on different socioeconomic activities. So that is called as the impact-based forecast and risk-based warning. So all these in place and have been possible and is at par with the developed countries because of the technological investment in the country. In the recent 10 years, if you just look at, there has been significant improvement in tools and technology, modeling systems, observational systems, communication systems, warning products generation, presentation, and dissemination systems. And all these also have been supported by a man-machine interaction, that is the human resource capacity building. As a result, the forecast accuracy has improved in the past 10 years by about 40 to 50% for all types of severe weather, be it cyclones or thunderstorms, heavy rainfall, heat wave, cold wave, or the fog.
Dr. Mrityunjay, sorry for the interruption, but has the accuracy improved only in the short term? For instance, the next 7 days, because we've seen that improve tremendously. We've seen how today, for instance, we can establish that 10 days later it's going to rain heavily in a certain part of the country, or in the long term as well. And by long term, I mean the overall weather scenario when it comes to season basis. So, for instance, how soon will the monsoon arrive? How soon will Delhi, for instance, be hit by a heat wave? Have we been able to succeed at the long-term weather prediction scenario in the country too?
Yeah. If you consider the seasonal forecast, though we started in long back, in 1886, past forecast was issued, but a real breakthrough came, I will tell, in 2021, when we developed a multi-model dynamic climate forecast system where we consider about 5 best models available in the country, including our monsoon mission climate forecast systems, and develop a multi-model ensemble. And based on that, we not only provide the country as a whole forecast for monsoon rainfall, but also provide the forecast for each and every part of the country. And that was a major breakthrough, I will tell you. And when I compare the forecast accuracy for last 4 years, so 2021 to 2024, the error in seasonal forecast of monsoon rain is 2.28% for the country as a whole. And if I compare it the previous 4 years, it is 7.5%. That means the new initiative, the new intervention, which has come up in recent time, has helped to minimize the error within the error limit. If you look at our long-range forecast of monsoon, we say, for example, for this year, the rainfall is expected to be 106% plus minus 4%. That means my standard error limit is plus minus 4%. And in the past 4 years, it has been 2.28%.
Dr. Mohapatra,
so by that way, there has been improvement in seasonal forecast, not only in accuracy, but also in resolution and outreach for utilization by various stakeholders.
Okay, Dr. Mohapatra, one sec. I just want to ask you, explain to us, and Dr. Kaul, feel free to come in on this point too, because it's a question that we often have. If we were to ask you why we still hear of repeated days of landslides taking place in a certain state or flooding taking place in a certain state, because those incidents you are very much hearing about in the news, even in this moment as rainfall is lashing Delhi, would you say, Dr. Mohapatra, that is a lack of coordination between government agencies, or is that the prediction coming wrong? How do you analyze situations like that, where we're still seeing, 5 days of landslides taking a city by surprise?
Yeah, when you talk of landslide, it is a different game. The landslide is a geophysical phenomena triggered by sometimes or many times the heavy rainfall and sometimes the earthquakes. And the landslides occurring in monsoon season are mostly triggered by the heavy rainfall events.
Right.
And while we have the heavy rainfall warning system in the country, we do not have landslide early warning system in the country. The Geological Survey of India is the nodal agency. They are working towards that in a pilot basis for Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. And some studies are in place in Kerala, but we do not have a systematic, well-placed landslide early warning system in the country.
Okay.
In the absence of that, what we do actually, we just go by the susceptibility study carried out by the Geological Survey of India. And whenever we expect the heavy rainfall over those susceptible zones, we just give an indication that there could be the landslides. But otherwise, there is no objective landslide early warning system in the country, and people are working towards that.
Dr. Kaul
That's
has
super
also been doing a lot of research on what should be done, what can be done, what must be done in order to save lives. Because at the end of the day, that's why weather predictions are so very important, and to a certain section in the country. We spoke about farmers, we spoke about the urban population, those in landslide affected areas. Dr. Kaul, what does your research suggest? What must be done, and should there be a trigger warning system, for instance, for landslides and flash floods, or does it go much past that into how disaster-proof an ecosystem we must create?
Exactly, Christine. There's a lot that we can do actually. So here we have been talking about forecasts. So if you depend on forecasts, it's like you get a forecast 2 or 3 days ahead, or maximum one week ahead on whether it will rain extreme. If you will have extreme rain in this place, or a heat wave or a cyclone in this place, maybe 3 days ahead with higher precision. But if you respond to that, sometimes we save lives, sometimes we save people, and this is what I call a knee-jerk reaction. And this is good. This is important that we heed the forecast, and our forecast systems are improving as well. But what our research shows is that there's an increasing trend of all these extreme conditions. It's like that teenager that I talked about,
Yes.
taking drugs and going much more unpredictable. So our weather systems are also getting more chaotic because there is more energetics, and we are finding it, at the same time where our supercomputing facilities, our modeling systems, everything, and our understanding of the science improves. These weather systems like heavy rains and clouds, convective systems, everything, they're also getting more chaotic. And what our research shows is that extreme rains, for example, since 1950s actually, until now, there is a threefold rise in extreme rainfall events, widespread extreme rainfall events across parts of India, from Western Ghats to Central India to Northeast India and Northern India. So these widespread extreme rainfall events cause massive floods. We see that happening across parts of India, and year to year this will be different. IMD can say that. And considering that, so we have these what we call future predictions of climate. We call it climate projections, and this is for the next 10, 20 years until 2100. It doesn't say on particular day in 2050 or 2040 it will rain heavily, but on an average, how the total amount of rainfall might change, or how much intensified the weather
Will be.
the extreme rains of tomorrow is, those kind of conditions. So we can be better prepared. So it all comes to how we prepare our cities, or how our rural areas, our farms, our infrastructure, our coastal expressways that we are going to prepare, ready up for the next 50 years. They should start for the next 50 years or more. So we need to be futuristic. And we have the data and capacity to do that, because in IITM we have these future predictions made. Across the globe we are doing that. We see how heat waves are going to increase in the next several decades. We can identify hotspots where these heat waves or extreme rains and floods will happen, and this data is already available.
Dr.
With
Kaul,
that, we can
Dr. Kaul, we
prepare.
have a minute or two left, so I want to, on the Breakfast Club, we love to look at stories and understand where the country is making strides. So point out to us, are there states in the country that are asking for data, that are working with weather organizations to future-proof themselves?
Oh, definitely. So some states, the disaster management agencies are using this kind of data to prepare maps on how it is going to change in the next few decades. For example, Maharashtra has a state action plan, Kerala has a state action plan and assessment report. based on which they have prepared, the Kerala State Disaster Management Authority has prepared extensive maps on where rains are going to change. So if you're going to build a house, you can check these maps and decide what the floodplain would be and decide how you can build that house or expressway or
You're saying people in the public. So if someone watching this show today wants to, and they live in Maharashtra and Kerala, they can actually check 10 years from now, how will this piece of land look like? What weather will it be?
Yeah. And if your state do not have that, ask your state authorities to prepare that, because we have the data and we have the capacity to do that.
Dr. Mohapatra, is the IMD in any way involved in this entire exercise with different states? Because one important aspect of this entire story is also awareness. How do you make the public aware of which site they can go to in case they want information? What more can be found out online through these valid digital profiles? So is the IMD also active in that sense?
Yeah, IMD is the powerhouse of data.
Right.
We have got the digital data since 1901, be it the ground truth with human-based observations or automated registrations or satellite data or radar data. And all these data are being utilized by all the stakeholders, so we provide the data as per the requirement. We also develop the hazard, vulnerability and risk assessment based on the past data in consultation with various our sister organizations and the stakeholders like the states. Various states have come up also for augmentation of the observation systems, which IMD is supporting technically. And also there is a Mission Motion program, which is underway, where there is a massive improvement in observational systems, modeling system, computing systems, and new interventions like artificial intelligence and machine learning, etc. And I am sure in the coming days, we will be able to not only improve the forecast, but also we can improve the risk-based warning, including the highly localized specific severe weather, like say thunderstorms or heavy rainfall occurring in urban areas or in any other sectors. So they are the keys that the augmentation of the technology in terms of observations and modeling and communication systems, warning generation dissemination systems. Towards these directions, IMD, along with other organizations in the country and outside, is venturing to address this adverse impact of the climate change.
So just like in several other cases, I like how this is also coming down to, in a way, science versus nature, and who can overpower who and in what pace. So here's to hoping that our innovation doesn't stop and we keep coming up with these great ideas in order to tackle the emerging challenges around climate change. Thank you so much, Dr. Kaul and Dr. Mohapatra, for sparing the time and joining us here on the Breakfast Club. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can never overpower nature, right? You can only use science to understand
it. That is true, believe it or not.
But let's head into a quick break. On the other side, we shift focus entirely. We speak to someone who has boxing in her blood. Joining us is Nupur Sheoran. She has struck gold. She's carried a legacy forward. And we talk a little bit. As she's brought the Sheoran name, she comes from a family in sports. And she's brought her family, her state pride once again. She's brought us pride once again. We'll speak to her in just a few minutes.
This is News18. Razor 60, dangerously cool.
Hello, Moto.
Joining us now is a very special guest, someone who's predicted the last 10 presidential elections correctly, save the last one, I must say. Alan Lichtman, American historian, political analyst. Thank you very much, Mr. Lichtman, and nice to see you again. What do you make of Mr. Musk and his threat? He claims, at least as per the polls that he's run on the social media platform that he owns, X, that 80% of America wants this new party, which he believes neither the Democrats or the Republicans are able to adequately represent. Is there an appetite for Americans for a third party?
Well, of course, you know, his poll on X has no scientific validity whatsoever because it's obviously a very biased sample. But even in the scientific polls, there is always a response, yes, we'd like an alternative to the two major parties. We consider voting for a third party. But when it comes right down to it, third parties have not had much success in the American political system. There has never, in our more than 200-year history of our republic, been a sustained third party that has elected significant numbers of candidates and significantly participated in the governing of the country. But third parties do have a history of being spoilers, that is, of draining votes from one of the other parties. In 1912, Theodore Roosevelt, the former president, ran as a third-party candidate on the Progressive Party. He had been a Republican president. He split the...
Joining us now is a very special guest, someone who's predicted the last 10 presidential elections correctly, save the last one, I must say. Alan Lichtman, American historian, political analyst. Thank you very much, Mr. Lichtman, and nice to see you again. What do you make of Mr. Musk and his threat? He claims, at least as per the polls that he's run on the social media platform that he owns, X, that 80% of America wants this new party, which he believes neither the Democrats or the Republicans are able to adequately represent. Is there an appetite for Americans for a third party?
Well, of course, his poll on X has no scientific validity whatsoever because it's obviously a very biased sample. But even in the scientific polls, there is always a response. Yes, we'd like an alternative to the two major parties. We consider voting for a third party. But when it comes right down to it, third parties have not had much success in the American political system. There has never, in our more than 200-year history of our republic, been a sustained third party that has elected significant numbers of candidates and significantly participated in the governing of the country. But third parties do have a history of being spoilers, that is, of draining votes from one of the other parties. In 1912, Theodore Roosevelt, the former president, ran as a third party.
All right, who do we have next here on the Breakfast Show? The person who is being spoken of as the golden girl in the country today. She's got gold in her hands and boxing in her blood. Who are we talking about? Any guesses? Our person of interest this morning is none other than Nupur Sheoran. She's the granddaughter of an Indian boxing legend, Captain Hawa Singh. She has made Bhiwani proud again. The 25-year-old won gold at the World Boxing Cup in Astana, dominating Kazakhstan's Yeldana Talipova 5-0 in the women's heavyweight final.
Just look at those visuals. It's a moment that carries the weight of a family legacy. Her grandfather's Asian game triumphs, her father's lessons, and her own years of hard work in the ring. And now with the 80+ kg category set for its Olympic debut in 2028, Nupur's journey is just getting started. We're so happy to have her live with us this morning, fresh off her huge win. She's ready to talk about what it means to carry a legacy forward. Let's go over to her. Hello. How does it feel जीतने के बाद, gold जीतने के बाद at the World Boxing Cup?
I thought maybe, before winning the medal, I thought it will be the greatest feeling, but it is not after winning the medal. It's okay that I won the medal, but the greatest feeling was when I saw everyone around me being happy. My father, my mother, they didn't slept at that night, so they didn't, वो सोए भी नहीं. और जो मेरा होम टाउन है, यहाँ पे जो मैंने लोगों का सेलिब्रेशन देखा, उसके बाद मुझे रियलाइज हुआ कि I really did it. उस टाइम में तो मुझे रियलाइज भी नहीं हुआ था कि मैं वर्ल्ड चैंपियन बन गई.
Just like any other parents, sleepless nights before a big day for the kids. But Nupur, क्या घर पे सबने खबर मिलते ही सबसे पहले ये बोला, विदेशी धरती पे हरियाणा की लड़की ने जलवा दिखा दिया है?
जब मुझे जब मेरा हाथ उठा तो मुझे बस ऐसा था कि मुझे बस घर पे बात करनी है, मम्मा से पापा से बात करनी है, लेकिन मुझे टाइम ही नहीं मिला क्योंकि मेडल सेरेमनी थी उसके तुरंत बाद। तो उसके बाद जब आया मेरा मतलब जब मैंने मम्मा पापा से बात की, पापा से बात की, मम्मा तो बिल्कुल ऐसे हंस रहे थे, मम्मी मम्मी से तो बात ही नहीं हुई 1 घंटे तक। और घर वाले सब नाना नानी सब पूरी फैमिली आस पड़ोस में सब लोग इतने खुश थे कि मतलब लोग मम्मी पापा के पास फोन करके बोलते थे कि आपकी बेटी जीत की, नोनू जीत, मुझे घर पे नोनू बोलते हैं कि नोनू जीत की, नोनू वर्ल्ड कप में नोनू का गोल्ड आ गया। तो मैम बहुत जबरदस्त फीलिंग थी। मतलब मुझे वहाँ पे फोन आ रहे थे, फोन पे फोन की क्योंकि वाईफाई नहीं था वहाँ पे। तो जब मैं होटल पे आई तब मुझे पता चला, मतलब बहुत से कम 110 कॉल्स थे।
आप तो एक बॉक्सिंग परिवार से भी आते हैं, आपके दादा 2 बार जीते थे, आई थिंक एशियन गेम्स मेडलिस्ट थे, आपके पिता बहुत सारे मेडल्स जीत चुके हैं, आपकी माँ एक एथलीट है। आप हमें बताइए, आपको लगता है ये आपके सक्सेस का राज है?
मुझे ऑफ कोर्स बिकॉज ऑफ देम आई हैव टू से। और जो घर में एक मैं बहुत छोटी थी जब मम्मा पापा ने एकेडमी स्टार्ट की थी, तो घर में माहौल था बॉक्सिंग का स्टार्टिंग से। मम्मा पापा ऊपर हम लोगों के जो हॉल बना रखा था उसमें बहुत बच्चों को रखते थे जो मतलब फाइनेंशियली स्ट्रांग नहीं थे, मतलब जिनको गेम मतलब उन्हें था कि भाई हाँ मुझे इन बच्चों को बनाना, टैलेंटेड बच्चे थे, तो बहुत से बच्चे रहते थे मैम ऊपर। तो हमारे घर में स्टार्टिंग से एक माहौल था बॉक्सिंग का, बच्चे जीत के लाते मेडल्स, तो घर पे ऐसे सेलिब्रेशन सा होता, तो मुझे ही होता था कि हाँ मुझे भी मेडल चाहिए। और फिर दादा का इतना सब कुछ सुना था कि ही वाज 2 टाइम्स एशियन गेम्स गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट, तो उनकी कहानियां सुनते थे, तो अंदर से होता था कि हाँ करना है मुझे भी बॉक्सिंग में, चाहे कुछ भी हो मुझे भी जाना है। और फिर मम्मा पापा का सपोर्ट तो था ही मैम स्टार्टिंग से। पापा स्टार्टिंग में नहीं चाहते थे कि मैं बॉक्सिंग करूं क्योंकि बहुत टफ रास्ता है, मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रगल भी करना पड़ता है मैम। तो उन्होंने मुझसे पहले पूछा था कि नुपुर तुम नोनू, मेरे को घर पे नोनू बोलते हैं, कि नोनू तुम पक्का करोगी ना बॉक्सिंग? मैं क्या हाँ पापा। पक्का ना, फिर पीछे नहीं हटना नोनू? मैं क्या हाँ पापा। तो फिर उसके बाद मैम मेरी ट्रेनिंग वगैरह सब कुछ स्टार्ट हुई और वाकई में काफ़ी टफ होता है।
Your father also had a big role to play in your journey. Nupur, tell us what you felt through the final moments. जो वो आखिरी के चंद मोमेंट होते हैं जो जब आपसे गोल्ड बस कुछ कदम दूर था, तो आपके दिमाग में क्या चल रहा था? You earned a 5-0 verdict against the Kazakhstani opponent.
मैम बिल्कुल ऑनेस्टली बताऊं तो जैसे हम लोगों के यहाँ पे इंडिया में हम लोग क्रिकेट को मानते हैं कि क्रिकेट बहुत जैसे हम लोगों के लिए बड़ी चीज़ है, उनके लिए कजाकिस्तानी पीपल के लिए, उनके लिए मैम बॉक्सिंग बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है। जिस तरीके से हम लोगों के लिए विराट कोहली, रोहित शर्मा है, ऐसे उनके लिए जो बॉक्सर्स हैं वो हैं। और मैम जो एरेना था हम लोगों का वो पूरा खचा खच भरा हुआ था कजाकिस्तान से। तो जब मैंने देखा कि हाँ इतनी भीड़ है तो एक अंदर से हुआ तो कि यार कुछ भी बाहर से नहीं सुनेगा, किसी का कोई पंच भी पता नहीं चलेगा, बस अपने आप ही जो कुछ करना है ना और ध्यान इसी पे लगाना है, क्योंकि एक पंच भी तुझे टच हुआ तो बहुत जबरदस्त शूटिंग हुई। और फाइट से पहले थी बहुत मतलब हिचक जिसको बोलते हैं वो थी बहुत ज्यादा। आई वाज लाइक एंजाइटी भी थी मैम, बहुत ज्यादा एंजाइटी थी। पर फिर जब जैसे जैसे टाइम आया कि हाँ अब फाइट है, तो उससे पहले वो भगवान जाने पता नहीं कहाँ ही चला गया डर, अंदर ही हो गया कि बस कुछ नहीं, आ जाओ देखते हैं तुम्हें कजाकिस्तानियों देखते हैं तुम्हें। मेरी फाइट मैम उस लड़की के साथ नहीं थी, मेरी फाइट उस पूरे क्राउड के साथ थी जो वहाँ पे इतना ज्यादा भीड़ थी और जो शोर था। मुझे लगता है मेरी फाइट उस दिन उसके साथ थी।
हमें ये बताइए आप कि एक दिन में आपका ट्रेनिंग कैसे, सो आपकी ज़िंदगी कैसे लगती है? आप क्या टाइम उठते हो, क्या टाइम खाते हो, पूरे स्केड्यूल के बारे में हमें बताएंगे?
बोरिंग सुपर बोरिंग। क्योंकि मैं किसी को भी अगर बताती हूँ तो बोलते हैं सुपर बोरिंग लाइफ, बट अच्छा लगता है मुझे, मतलब आदत पड़ चुकी है अपने खेल की, क्योंकि एक तरह से खून में ही बस चुका है कि प्रैक्टिस तो करनी है, पंच एक बार तो बचाना ही है, दिन में एक बार तो मारना ही है। तो मैम शेड्यूल ऐसा रहता है, सुबह जो जिससे ट्रेनिंग होती है उससे 1 घंटा 50 मिनट पहले उठते हैं, फिर उसके बाद जो कुछ थोड़ा बहुत खाना होता है खाते हैं, फिर ट्रेनिंग पे जाते हैं मैम। 3-3.5 घंटे की ट्रेनिंग होती है, फिर ब्रेकफास्ट वगैरह करते हैं। कई बार डाइट मैम इतनी खानी पड़ती है, कई बार परेशान हो जाते हैं डाइट खा के। मतलब लोगों को बताते, लोग ऐसे बोलते हैं अरे कितने मजे, तो हरियाणवी में हमारे बोलते तेरे तो स्वाद है, तो अच्छे काजू बादाम खाओ है। लेकिन वो काजू बादाम भी मतलब कुछ दिन ही अच्छे लगते हैं, उसके बाद उनसे भी हो जाता है। क्योंकि हम हर चीज अगर रोज रोज एक ही चीज खाएं, एक ही पैटर्न से खाएं, तो अंदर से मतलब होने लग जाता है थोड़ा। तो डाइट मैम कई बार तो अंडे इतने खाने पड़ते हैं, एग्स, लाइक आई एम नॉन वेजिटेरियन, तो और खाते खाते ही हो जाता है कि बस अब और नहीं खाया जाएगा। परेशानी होती है बहुत ज्यादा। फिर रेस्ट भी मैम, क्योंकि फोन नहीं चला सकते ज्यादा, क्योंकि एक पूरा टाइम है कि भाई सोना है, इस टाइम पे सोना है, इस टाइम पे उठना है, क्योंकि बॉडी फिर चलेगी नहीं शाम को। फिर शाम की ट्रेनिंग होती है, फिर वही मैम अपना ट्रेनिंग के बाद डिनर करते फिर दोबारा नींद आ जाती है, 9:30-10 बजे दोबारा सो जाते हैं। बस यही लाइफ है, बहुत बोरिंग लाइफ है, पर मुझे अच्छी लगती है।
If you come to think of it, eating the same thing again and again, day after day is not easy, Nupur, so we completely get it. But जब आप एकदम बोर हो जाते हो, जब आपको ब्रेक की ज़रूरत होती ही है, तो आप क्या करते हो? What apart from boxing interests you? अपने पैशन, हॉबीज़ के बारे में बताइए।
मैम मैं जो एक वो बोलते हैं ना सुकून और शांति और चिल, वो मुझे मेरी फैमिली में मिलता है। लाइक मेरे लिए मेरा जो वो कॉर्नर है जो आप बोल रहे हो कि जब मैं बोर हो जाती हूँ, तो बस सिंपली कुछ नहीं, अपने भाई के साथ टाइम स्पेंड करती हूँ, अपनी माँ के साथ, और मूवीज देखती हूँ माँ के साथ। ऑफकोर्स मैं और माँ मूवी देखते हैं, नेटफ्लिक्स चला लेते हैं बस यही है मैम, चिल। और जैसे लॉन्ग ड्राइव पे चले जाती हूँ भाई के साथ, यही है मैम, इससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं। बस क्योंकि बाहर जाने का मौका ही नहीं मिलता, कंपटीशन आ जाता है। मैं यूँ बोलूँ कि भाई मैं ट्रैवलिंग करती हूँ, तो कंपटीशन आ जाते, पता नहीं चलता कब अब ये कंपटीशन है, अब ये कंपटीशन है, तो बाहर जाने का तो कुछ होता ही नहीं। मैम घर पे ही फैमिली के साथ चिल करती हूँ, पापा के साथ, माँ के साथ, भाई के साथ। और जो एकेडमी में बच्चे हैं, जैसे मेरे फादर, हम लोगों की एकेडमी है, तो छोटे बच्चे होते हैं, उनके साथ गेम खेल लेती हूँ। ये ही चिल है मैम मेरा तो।
नुपुर, अगर कोई आपसे पूछे कि आप इंडियन बॉक्सिंग की जो कहानी है उसे कैसे देखते हैं? इंडिया 11 मेडल जीत चुकी है, इन टोटल 3 गोल्ड्स एट द 2025 वर्ल्ड बॉक्सिंग कप। आपको कैसे लगता है, वेयर डज इंडिया स्टैंड ग्लोबली?
मैम अभी हम लोगों का जो परफॉर्मेंस आई है, दैट इज आई थिंक ग्रेटेस्ट। लाइक अभी तक इतनी ज़बरदस्त परफॉर्मेंस जो इंडियन बॉक्सर्स की आई है, मुझे नहीं लगता कि इससे अच्छी परफॉर्मेंस कभी आई है। तो इंडिया मैम धीरे धीरे इम्प्रूव कर रहा है, काफ़ी इम्प्रूव कर रहा है धीरे धीरे। मतलब हम लोग जो हमारी टेक्निकल जो कमियां थी उन पे वर्क कर रहे हैं, और मैम कुल मिला के काफ़ी अच्छा अब की बार जो इंडिया का, अभी हम लोग वहाँ पे कजाकिस्तानी, मैं आपको बताऊँगी, जो कजाकिस्तानी बॉक्सर्स थे या फिर जो वहाँ के लोकल्स थे, तो वो आके हम लोगों से मिल रहे थे, इंडियन से, मतलब बोल रहे थे यू इंडियंस यू प्ले रियली गुड। लाइक क्योंकि वो मतलब बॉक्सिंग जैसे अपने क्रिकेट का सबको पता था, उन लोगों को भी बॉक्सिंग का बहुत मतलब नॉलेज होती है। तो मैम मुझे तो बहुत अच्छा लगा, अभी हम लोगों का 3rd पोजीशन आई है मैम वहाँ पे।
Wow. Can I also ask you, Nupur, what's your ultimate boxing dream? The boxing dream medal that you are looking forward to? Is it what we think it is? ये वो ओ शब्द वही है जो हमें सबको लगता है?
वो तो सबका अल्टीमेटली एक ही गोल है, और वो है ओलंपिक्स गोल्ड मेडल।
All right, Nupur, it has been wonderful. Once again, congratulations आपको, इतना बड़ा congratulations Breakfast Club की तरफ से towards you, but also, as you said earlier, to your family, because they've been a big, big part of making this victory possible. Your strength, your determination, your dhyan, as you said, is why you're so successful. But we hope to see you win on the Oscar stage too. We're very, very excited to see that. Okay, let's move on.
Let's now take you to stories from India and across the globe. Rajkumar Rao and wife are set to embrace a brand new chapter in their lives. The couple took to Instagram to share the heartwarming news that they're expecting their first child together. And with this announcement, the two begin a deeply personal and exciting new journey, stepping into the world of parenthood.
Mattel has taken a major step, they say, towards fostering inclusivity with a real-world representation. They are introducing their first ever Barbie Type 1 diabetes doll. It's been created in association with Breakthrough T1D. It's a leading non-profit dedicated to Type 1 diabetes research, support and advocacy. Now, this was unveiled as a part of the Barbie Fashionistas line. Stars arrived for the Balenciaga haute couture shoe and show in Paris on Wednesday. They were in black. Now, why were they in black? This is because it's world-famous designer Demna's last collection for the iconic house. He's going to be moving to Gucci next. Balenciaga's new designer is going to be Paolo Piccolo. He's known worldwide and he'll debut his first collection for Balenciaga. Everyone's very interested to see how he will honor the traditionally black house. Of course, Anna Wintour dressed differently in colors, but this is all taking place during Paris Fashion Week. And Giorgio Armani showed his latest Privé haute couture collection at the label's gilded Paris headquarters, displaying black velvet evening gowns with shimmery touches on the runway. Once again, without the Italian designer, who continues, remember, to rest at home. Armani was also absent from his label's fashion shows in Milan last month, a first for the Italian designer who's famous for just how hands-on his entire approach is to fashion. But remember, he has, as we've been telling you earlier, spent some days in Milan in a hospital.
The Cape does have power. David Conswell on playing the new Superman. Conswell is the latest actor to don the blue and red suit on the big screen, and he's still processing the weight of his new identity as the superhero. The film has received high acclaim from early reviews on review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes with an 88% rating. Upcoming projects include Supergirl, an R-rated horror film, Clayface.
A man was gored, 3 others injured on Wednesday, the third day of Pamplona's San Fermin Festival. Emergency services of the Navarra region said 6 bulls from a ranch charged through Pamplona's narrow streets in 2 minutes and 21 seconds. Footage showed a bull goring a man in the famous curve of Esposmina Street. A man was seen being dragged from his t-shirt through several meters by a bull. Several runners fell down and bulls ran past them. Hundreds of runners dressed in the traditional white outfit with red handkerchiefs sprinting ahead of the powerful animals along the 875-meter route. Just look at those visuals. Okay, we're going to be moving on now to something else, something all of India has its fingers crossed for. The grand stage of Lords is set for a blockbuster clash. India's taking on England in the third test of the series. The second test of the 5-match series promises a high-octane contest. India's looking to seize the lead on one of cricket's grandest stages.
So yes, all eyes are going to be on some of the key players who've already put out a splendid performance in the first 2 games. Do remember, the series is currently 1-1. India will also be looking at taking a lead now, and all eyes will be on the likes of Jasprit Bumrah, who led the bowling attack, remember, with the menace in the opener. His battle against England's top order, especially Joe Root and Ben Stokes, could prove decisive. We get you more details in this report.
India's victory at Edgbaston is now a part of history, and it's time to gear up for another exciting contest between India and England. Shubman Gill's young brigade has arrived in London and is set to face a battered and bruised England at Lord's. The last time India played at Lord's, Virat Kohli and company made Joe Root and his men feel like hell on the final day. The visitors humiliated the Englishmen in what was an ultra-aggressive display of cricket. India won the test match by 151 runs, giving England a nightmare to remember. 4 years later, India are back at the home of cricket, but without their stalwarts. Virat Kohli won't be there on the field to inspire the team to pull off another unthinkable act. Instead, it will be a young and energetic Team India out there to counter baseball. Captain Shubman Gill, who has been on a century-scoring spree, will again be in the spotlight. With 585 runs in just 2 games, the 25-year-old is expected to deliver something extraordinary. Even the English side is wary of him. In the pre-match presser, England captain Ben Stokes was full of praise for his Indian counterpart.
Yeah, look, we've obviously got plans for all the Indian batters, but again, very good players are allowed to play well, and he has played very well in the first 2 games.
Another concern for England going into the game is the return of India's most valuable player, Jasprit Bumrah. The hosts are yet to recover from Akashdeep's assault, and now Bumrah, rested for 2 straight weeks, is back in the mix, adding to England's worries. However, the final playing combination for the 3rd test will only be revealed at the toss, as per Rishabh Pant, since brainstorming is still going on.
I think discussions are still going on, but 3-1 hoga ya 3-2 hoga, we'll get to know by tomorrow only. So discussions are going on, because what's happening when you see the wicket in 2 days, it's sometimes it changes the color, the moisture become less also. So we have to see eventually take a call how the wicket is going to play.
But England are also coming prepared. After the Birmingham defeat, they wasted no time adding Jofra Archer to their plans. On the eve of the test, England announced they are playing 11, dropping Josh Tongue to bring in Archer, who hasn't played a test in over 4 years. While England are counting on Archer's abilities, Rishabh Pant seemed unfazed by the Pacers' comeback.
Personally, whenever I step on the field, I always enjoy my cricket and try to give my 200%. Not particularly about any individual, just being on the field. Yes, it's going to be good contest always, because he's also coming back after a long break. Let's see how it goes.
You please say him.
Yes, I'm happy he's back.
Both teams look battle ready, and we just can't wait for the game to begin. Before the action unfolds on Thursday at Lord's, let's revisit India's past performance at the home of cricket. Winning test matches in England has always been a challenge, but doing it at Lord's brings more than just satisfaction. The legendary Kapil Dev was the first Indian captain to taste victory at Lord's, followed by MS Dhoni and most recently Virat Kohli. Under Kapil Dev's leadership, India beat England for the first time in a test series at Lord's. Dhoni's team repeated the feat after 28 years in 2014. 7 years later, in 2021, Kohli created history again with his boys. Now it's Shubman Gill's turn. Will the young lad succeed with his flamboyant team, or will England bounce back to seek revenge for the 2021 defeat? Just wait and watch, because the thrill has just begun.
Okay, from this, let's move on to the world of entertainment. Mahi just dropped another hit number, Jaan Se Zyada, featuring none other than his legendary dad Shaan, got candid about working with him for the very first time on set.
I still remember loving so many Shaan classics through the years. He has such a distinctive voice, and in this exclusive chat with CNN-News18's Shosha, Mahi opens up about the privilege and the pressure of being born to a music icon and what it takes to craft one's own identity. Take a look.
Congratulations to you for your latest drop, Jaan Se Zyada, which is quite a rave right now. So tell us a little about the making, as your parents are making a special appearance in this one.
Anji, this Jaan Se Zyada is a very, very special song. It's been composed by Zain and Sam, and it's been written by the legendary Rashmi Virag sir and ma'am. And it's a song that we were working on for a very, very long time, and it's something that we're so grateful to be able to bring to you guys. And the video is also very, very special. It's shot with my parents. It's my first video with my parents. Also, it's shot with my co-star Adya, who's done such a great job.
No, it's a beautiful one, like a very lovey-dovey song. We just loved it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So talking about your father, just wanted to say it was like, it feels like just yesterday that man just took over an entire generation with Tanha Dil walking on the street. Do you feel the pressure of living up to his stardom?
I think naturally there is a little bit of pressure, but I think a little bit of pressure is necessary as well. I think it helps in sort of pushing me that little extra amount. I think it's never imposed by him or mom. right? They're never putting the pressure. "Mere bete ho to aisa gana hai." It's never like that. It's always, him just saying, you focus on making your own identity, your own path, your own singing, and I'll be here to help you throughout the way. And uske wajah se, I think the pressure is a lot less, but naturally there's a little bit of pressure, but I think it's a good amount.
Oh, well, it is our pleasure to let you know that you are carrying forward the legacy very beautifully. Yeah. When we are talking about the industry, wanted to say that some might say that when you are born into the industry, it gives you a certain edge.
Ji.
What's your take on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think any industry you're born into will give you that edge. I think whether it be music or acting or metal or ball bearings or
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of more industries, automotive, and whatever.
Yeah, of course, of course.
With parents in that industry naturally will have help in there because they will have a network there. You'll also be able to get direct advice, and I'm blessed in that sense to have my father and mother being who they are. I mean, for me even just from a pure singing perspective, right? In leaving all the commercial aspect and networking aspect out of it, just from a singing perspective, for me it's how easy is it to, I'm in a studio, ek note nahi lag raha hai. For me it's one call away where I can ask someone who's done this in like an incredible amount of times, how should I do this, what should I do, right? And then he'll tell me, ye sirf ye note ke liye, sirf ye shabd ke liye naak se ga. That will give you a 1% boost for just that one touch and come back. It won't sound like you're going nasal, but it'll help you in just touching that note and coming back. Stuff like that also. So it's not only the help is coming because he's he's getting to sing for this movie or that movie because of his dad, but also it's, for me, the biggest help is what I'm getting at. Like the biggest help is the fact that he can help me become a better singer, which I think is the biggest thing and the biggest advantage is that I have direct access to one of the most legendary singers.
This is News 18.
How has he seen a doll?
Gotta have some spin, never blending, dripping in, like it's so clean.
Moto G96 5G.
All eyes on you. Hello, Moto.
Joining us now is a very special guest, someone who's predicted the last 10 presidential elections correctly, save the last one, I must say. Alan Lichtman, American historian, political analyst. Thank you very much, Mr. Lichtman, and nice to see you again. What do you make of Mr. Musk and his threat? He claims, at least as per the polls that he's run on the social media platform that he owns, X, that 80% of America wants this new party, which he believes neither the Democrats or the Republicans are able to adequately represent. Is there an appetite for Americans for a third party?
Well, of course, his poll on X has no scientific validity whatsoever because it's obviously a very biased sample. But even in the scientific polls, there is always a response. Yes, we'd like an alternative to the two major parties. We consider voting for a third party. But when it comes right down to it, third parties have not had much success in the American political system. There has never, in our more than 200-year history of our republic, been a sustained third party that has elected significant numbers of candidates and significantly participated in the governing of the country. But third parties do have a history of being spoilers, that is, of draining votes from one of the other parties. In 1912, Theodore
Welcome back. We're not done as yet. Let's take you to the special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. Let's start with markets. GIFT Nifty indicates a positive start of Indian equities. Asian markets opened cautious as uncertainty on tariffs remains still. US Fed meeting minutes indicate some rate cuts possibility this year itself. Crude oil price has slipped as Donald Trump's duties have raised concerns of global slowdown. Gold price has also inched up in early trades.
And we take a look at a sector in particular. India is widely regarded as one of the fastest growing markets for commercial office space. Domestic enterprises are emerging as a key driver of this demand, including for co-working facilities. There's availability of talent, a supportive regulatory environment, and access to cost-effective real estate. And they've made India actually a preferred destination for this. So log into Money Control Pro to find out more about India's commercial real estate sector and various other actionable insights. It's the premier destination for all investing views and financial insights you're ever going to need. Brought to you by Money Control. All right. And with that, we're now bringing our entire show to a close. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for waking up early and joining us every morning at 8 a.m. See you tomorrow.
Brought to you by This is
How is he always winning?
Gotta have some spin, never bend, dripping like so clean.
Moto G96 5G.
All eyes on you.
Hello, Moto.
US President Donald Trump on Wednesday announced a 50% tariff on all Brazilian products starting from August 1st. He also called the trial of former President Bolsonaro a witch hunt and an international disgrace. Now Trump accused Brazil of undermining free elections and American free speech through secret censorship orders. He has also said that a 50% tariff on all Brazilian goods would begin August 1st. Now, this didn't sit well with Brazilian President Lula da Silva, who has lashed out at Donald Trump. This is the breaking input that we are getting for you, where we are learning that US President Donald Trump has now imposed 50%.
Good morning and a warm welcome. You're watching CNN-News18 with me, Jihadur. Let's begin with the headlines at the top of 9 a.m. Supreme Court to hear a clutch of petitions challenging the Election Commission's decision to revise electoral rolls in the poll-bound state of Bihar. Poll panel defense moves. Arunachal Chief Minister's water bomb warning as China builds world's largest dam project near Indian border. Chief Minister Khandu says dam poses